So you're thinking about moving to North Bend
or Snoqualmie?
Well, in this video, we are going to talk about the pros and the cons and kind of dig into what it's like to compare and contrast living in North Bend versus Snoqualmie. So stick around because we are going to get after it right now.
Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know all there is to know about living in King County, Washington, or places like North Bend and Snoqualmie like we're talking about today, then hit the subscribe button, tap the bell for notifications. That way you can be the first to be notified of a new video of Snoqualmie, North Bend, or one of our other favorite cities here in King County. I'm Brad Decatur, Derek Decatur here, and we're the Decatur home team. And we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you every day who are looking to make their move to King County. So whether you're 1 day or 1 year away, we would love to help you make a smooth move. All the contact info is below, so feel free to reach out via text, email. We can hop on a Zoom call. So today, comparison. Derek's the natives to North Bend, by the way. So if you can start off, we got Snoqualmie, yes. North Bend. What do we got?
Yeah. So obviously Snoqualmie, North Bend. We are east of Bellevue. We are right up against the mountains here. Most people coming out this way are probably coming out this way because they want a little bit more bang for their buck in terms of where their dollar goes on their housing. But we also probably get a lot of people who are just enjoying the outdoors coming out this way, want to get out of the big city of Bellevue. And so what's the difference between North Bend and Snoqualmie? For me, North Bend is just one more. It's just one more exit down, right? Yeah. It's just one more exit down. There's a little, but there is really more space. There is a lot more land. Being the resident North Bender, I look at North Bend and Snoqualmie as obviously very similar. We're right next to each other, but North Bend is just, you know, an exit or two down, a little bit more space, a little bit more land. Well, it's changed actually in the last year now, but there wasn't as much new construction down in North Bend as there was happening in Snoqualmie in the years past. But that's coming from me because I live there. Brad, what do you think about what's the difference between North Bend and Snoqualmie?
Well, I think so. Snoqualmie, I know a little bit better just because I go to the ridge there a lot. So I think that Snoqualmie is kind of separated into two specific portions that are really very, very different. Mm-hmm. So Snoqualmie Ridge, it was built, 20 years ago for the most part, 20, 25 years ago, and it's a really nice community with a lot of parks, newer and bigger, nicer houses, and it has the private country club there for golf. And then you have downtown Snoqualmie, which is like historic, on the river, lots of really old homes, as far as like 1905 homes. Yep. So I think of like downtown Snoqualmie being comparative to like North Bend downtown, except for the new construction that's going in. But then North Bend has these outskirts that's way different, like where what's that called?
Rattlesnake Lake?
Rattlesnake Lake and Lake Wilderness, all that stuff with more trees and stuff. So that's the main difference I see, is that the Ridge has this, Snoqualmie has the Ridge, which is this big community. So if that's what you're looking for, then great. But if you're not, then downtown Snoqualmie and North Bend.
Yeah, I mean, the Ridge is just a massive master plan community, like on a whole nother level. You know, it's essentially like a master planned city.
Yeah, it is.
It's not a community, so it's a huge city. It is vastly different up on the Ridge, obviously, than in downtown for sure. Location-wise, it's a push. It's very similar, right? We're both right on 90. So I would say the only difference between Snoqualmie and North Bend in terms of location is that you get stuck on Highway 18 traffic if you're going to the Ridge versus going to downtown Snoqualmie, which, if that's your route to go, that's going to be kind of a knock on the Ridge, I would say.
Totally. Yeah, that's a terrible exit.
But that interchange is changing now too. So depending on when you're watching this, there's they're completely changing the interchange between I-90 and 18, which should clear things up. So other than that location, you're both 20 minutes from the mountain and you're both 20 minutes from Bellevue.
Yeah, it's just another exit. So North Bend's farther from like the Bellevue, Seattle, but closer to the mountain. Snoqualmie's going to be closer to the downtown, but farther from the mountain. But yeah, pretty similar. How about schools?
School districts. Snoqualmie's school district is going to be always one of the better ones in the states. It's always going to be in the top 10. It's not going to be your Bellevue. It's not going to be your well, I shouldn't say it's not going to be your Issaquah. I mean, it really is right there.
It's close, yeah.
So again, like most, we've talked about it in lots of our videos, school districts on the east side here in King County are all very, very good, and Snoqualmie School District is no different. It's a great school district. Obviously, you know, I send my kids there.
Yep, and
have only good things to say about
it. They're both Snoqualmie school districts. So
yes,
but you will have different schools, I guess, for like middle and elementary. But they're all Mount Si, right? But
they all go to Mount. Yep, everyone feeds into Mount Si right now. Yep, exactly.
So pretty much the same. Do you have any knowledge on like elementary and middles being different between the cities? I don't know. I just know Mount Si.
No, I mean the in terms of quality, no, they're all great. I mean, I would say that from a living on the ridge standpoint, you know, depending on where you're at on the ridge, there's a couple of those schools that you can really walk to.
And the big park.
And the parks are right there as well. So that's kind of a cool plus. That's a cool little vibe there that you can walk to the elementary schools.
Yeah.
Because the elementary schools are kind of right, like Cascade View is right off the main drag in Snoqualmie Ridge, right? So a lot of families can walk there versus down in North Bend. Obviously, there's communities that can walk to the school, but it's a little bit more spread out. That community, the land, again, it's more spread out. So different feel for those elementary school and middle schools. Well, everyone's driving to the middle school, but everyone feeds into the high school there.
Yep. School districts are a wash because they are the same school district.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
Both good, though. Or Snoqualmie's good.
Yeah.
Then, so how about, like, cost of living?
Cost of living, I mean, housing is starting to kind of be neutral, I would say. Depending on where you're at on the ridge, obviously there's pockets of just very nice. If you're on the golf course, for instance, it's you're going to be spending a couple $1 million.
Yep.
You know, and there are pockets down in North Bend where you're looking at that 1-2. There's a couple new developments, 1-3, 1-5s,
right?
Which you're obviously going to get on the ridge as well. But I think overall, it's a tough one because there are those pockets that are very comparable, but you're not going to get the same entry level home in Snoqualmie as you are in North Bend. I would say there's a big difference.
Which going which way?
You're going to get more entry level in North Bend.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the difference is that it's basically the same thing as the rest of the difference is that that Snoqualmie has the ridge, which is really a different community. So pricing on the ridge versus downtown Snoqualmie is pretty different because they're not the same houses.
No.
There's old, usually smaller, versus newer and bigger. And then North Bend, I would say, has both those. But, I mean, when I think of the two, I don't really differentiate as a whole that much as far as pricing goes. It's like you're basically shopping in the same area. It's more about just what do you want. Do you want to be in the trees in Wilderness, you know, side of North Bend, or do you want to be on the ridge, which is much more, you know, family, sidewalks, cul-de-sacs. It's got good views up there too.
Sure.
So housing's similar.
There are views, you get the views on the ridge that you don't necessarily get in North Bend. Although North Bend's, you've got some communities down there that you're sitting at the bottom of Mount Si looking up at the mountain too, which is pretty awesome. And there's a distinction too in North Bend. North side of 90 versus the south side of 90 as well. You're getting more developments on the north side of 90 now versus the south side of 90, kind of more that Rattlesnake, River Bend. Those homes have been around for a little bit longer. Those communities have been around for a little bit longer. And we're starting to get more building, more new construction kind of on that northern side of the freeway in North Bend, which is changing the landscapes of North Bend quite a bit, similarly to what happened in Snoqualmie when the ridge came in as well.
Yep, totally. And they both, I think, as far as housing goes, have like more estate and bigger acreage properties, both on the outskirts. Like Snoqualmie, if you go way up north, you know, they have more estate properties that have like 3 to 5, 10 acres. And North Bend has some of those pockets too.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yep.
Things to do. I'll start, then I'll ask the real expert. The golf course for the Ridge, right?
Yes.
So I love to golf at the Ridge. It's a great spot. And then the Ridge also has all these awesome parks. So Snoqualmie, those are kind of some of the things to do. Downtown, a lot different things to do, but you have the historic part, the train tracks, the river itself. But what about North Bend? Or how do you see them
Bend
as comparing?
No, I mean, so like you said, Snoqualmie's got the new, just immaculate turf parks.
Yep, those are nice.
You know, super nice to bring the kids out to there. North Bend, I think, when I think of North Bend, kind of things to do, obviously I'm a little biased because I've got the kids, the boys that we're usually taking them out. So we've got We've got the park down in North Bend. You got your baseball fields. You got your pump track which my son loves getting on his bike. You've got some more trails, hiking and biking trails in North Bend, I would say. You've got the river that runs right through North Bend, so there's a lot of things going on there. You can float the river pretty easily in North Bend. You know, I think of North Bend as a little more, like you said, rural. Rural. Thank you. And so the activities are much more kind of based on the outdoor stuff, whereas on the ridge you got the golf course, you've got a few more restaurants and things up there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you said it or not, Rattlesnake Lake.
Rattlesnake Lake in North Bend is huge.
There's no hiking in Snoqualmie, on the Snoqualmie Ridge. There might be some trails like on the river there down. I guess there's
downtown Snoqualmie though. You've got the river there as well.
Yeah.
You've got the brewery right there on the river, which is super awesome.
Good one.
You've got the two main drags in downtown Snoqualmie, which are really, I mean, the shops down there are really cool. They're very unique shops. They're all, you know, I don't want to say mom and pop shops, but they're individually owned shops. You know, they're not franchises. It's a cool thing to do down there, to go walk that main road.
Yeah, that's cool.
Obviously, you got Snoqualmie Falls as well.
Sure.
Snoqualmie Falls is going to be a big draw.
That's a big one
in Snoqualmie.
Well, you just made me think about, we haven't touched on like shopping.
Sure.
So, you know, North Bend has the outlets.
North Bend's got the outlet mall. Yeah, that is a big draw for people.
That's
I know.
cool.
I would say, like, for, you know, it's like one of those things where, it's like one of those things where if you live there for a long time, you kind of forget about it, to be honest. But
people go to North Bend.
But a lot of people do go to the North Bend outlets. That's true. And we will go there, some back to school stuff, where you go hit the Nike outlet is a good spot to go as well. You've got a couple of the, you know, on the main road there in North Bend, you've got a couple really good restaurants that people love to frequent. It's very similar. Downtown Snoqualmie and downtown North Bend to me are very similar versus when you compare those two versus the Ridge.
Right. Yeah. And the Ridge has just like your one. I mean, the Ridge is mostly houses. I mean, it has like the one QFC, then the one street on the left of the Ridge Drive. That's going to be like your commercial Subway, Starbucks, or whatever. And that's pretty much it. So, like, if you're not liking Safeway, you're not getting grocery shopping down on the Ridge.
True.
But Snoqualmie doesn't. It's not like they have tons of grocery stores. I would say North Bend, the downtown, has probably more shopping than.
You got Safeway. You got QFC. You've got a couple of your restaurants on there as well. You got the Ace Hardware is right there. You know. There's
more there.
There's more there. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Cool.
So, really, it's going to depend on what you prefer. If you're going to go into Snoqualmie, which is Snoqualmie Ridge versus downtown Snoqualmie versus North Bend. A lot of pros, a lot of cons to each of these. They are very similar. School districts are a push. Cost of living is probably a push. A little bit more outside activities. I think North Bend kind of wins.
Yeah.
Maybe a little higher end activities. Snoqualmie might win. You got your golf course there. You got Snoqualmie Falls. You've got the Salish Lodge there as well, which you didn't even touch on. So those things are really dependent on what you prefer. But they're both very similar in terms of location. They're both very similar in terms of what you can get in and out of on the freeway, because they're right there off of I-90 together. So like most situations, it's really going to depend on the person and what they're looking for. Are you looking for a little bit more of a tighter, smaller community up on the Ridge where the houses are a little bit closer? You've got more of that community feel. You've got some of the newer parks. Or would you rather kind of be out a little bit more? I don't want to say out in the country, because that's not at all true. And if that's the case, then you're kind of looking more for North Bend. So I don't know who wins, Brad.
Well, for me, I would choose Snoqualmie, just me personally.
Sure.
I would just say, because we've helped so many buyers that are looking in this. Generally, when buyers are looking, they're looking in this whole kind of the valley, we call it, this whole area. Yep. But there's a lot of buyers that are very specific. So to me, it's like the Ridge versus the rest. The Ridge versus downtown Snoqualmie, North Bend, like Bailey.
That's fair.
Remember
That's
Bailey?
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
He was like, we don't want to live on the Ridge. We want to be in the old town. And North Bend and Snoqualmie downtown are both like that. And the Ridge is just different. It's more of like it's like an upper end, neighborhood. It'll feel a little bit different. Even the people that are there. So I think it comes down to what type of person you are if you want to be on the Ridge versus these. But I see Snoqualmie downtown and North Bend pretty similar.
Yep.
I like the Ridge, I like the golf course, but that's just me.
And I like North Bend.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Yep.
And we love it out there. So you can't go wrong.
Yep.
It's I mean, we're biased. Obviously, we come from here, but just phenomenal communities in both of these cities. So you can't really lose out. I'm going to call this one a push.
Push. All right, so that wraps it up, Snoqualmie, North Bend. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If this is your first time on the channel or first video that you've even seen, then you're probably also interested in some of the other surrounding areas like Issaquah and Sammamish or Maple Valley. So we have them all in playlists somewhere at the top of our page. So if you're on the channel, make sure to check out the different cities so you can really learn as much as possible before you make your move.
Yeah, there's lots to choose from here on the east side of King County, and our goal is to give you as much info as possible so that you can make that move as smooth as humanly possible.
Absolutely. Thanks you for watching. We'll see you next time.